What if the biggest threat to your happiness isn't out there in the world? It's the subtle patterns in a friend, colleague, or family relationship that slowly erode your peace. These unhealthy dynamics don't always arrive with obvious warnings. They often masquerade as familiar support from confidants, cheerleaders, or loved ones. At their heart, they're interactions that leave you questioning your worth, drained from unseen tensions, and caught in loops of self-doubt. This isn't about labeling individuals. People are complex, shaped by their own histories, traumas, or challenges like mental health struggles, but about identifying recurring behaviors that drain your energy and joy. By recognizing these patterns, you can safeguard your well-being while fostering more constructive connections. Why do these dynamics persist? Why do they feel like quicksand, pulling harder the more you resist? Let's explore them through a psychological lens, focusing on subtle signals of imbalance. We'll also touch on self-reflection to ensure a fuller picture. By the end, you'll have practical tools to spot issues early, reflect on your role, and nurture healthier interactions. Your peace and growth starts here. First, conversations that spotlight their chaos, sidelining your experiences. Imagine sharing a hard-won work victory, only for them to pivot. That's great, but let me tell you about my nightmare week. Boss yelling, deadlines crashing, total disaster. On the surface, it might not seem intentional, but it creates a gravitational pull toward their emotional turbulence, leaving little room for mutual exchange. Psychologically, this draws from emotional contagion, where moods and behaviors spread between people like ripples in water. Research shows negativity often propagates faster than positivity in social settings, amplifying one-sided drains. In unbalanced dynamics, it becomes a lopsided trade. They offload, you absorb, echoing Daniel Goleman's insights on emotional intelligence, where lack of reciprocity gradually undermines trust and turns support into obligation. Spot it by tuning into the aftermath. Do interactions leave you as the unofficial therapist? If conversations skew toward monologues over dialogue, it's a sign. Healthy exchanges uplift both parties. Imbalanced ones weigh one down. Reflect here too. Might your own listening style invite this, or could clearer cues help redirect? Next, advice, laced with criticism that lingers like a bruise. Phrases like, "I'm just being honest," "You're too sensitive," "That's why things don't work out," masquerade as tough love, but they often aim to diminish rather than empower, preserving a subtle power tilt. Sociologically, this links to imbalances in relational roles, as Irving Goffman framed everyday life as theatrical performances, where we enact parts shaped by audience and context. In unhealthy patterns, feedback becomes a tool for control, deflecting from the giver's vulnerabilities onto the receiver's perceived flaws. Interpersonal studies confirm chronic criticism correlates with diminished self-esteem, fueling cycles of doubt. Pause post-conversation. Does their input spark action or shame? Constructive guidance bridges gaps. This erects barriers. As Carol Dweck's growth mindset research highlights, true encouragement spotlights effort and potential over fixed flaws. If echoes of inadequacy persist, step back and consider if your receptivity plays a part, opening doors for kinder dialogue. Third, struggles to celebrate your successes without casting their shadow. After your promotion or self-care breakthrough comes, "Must be nice to have it so easy," or a tale of their tougher path, subtle one-upping veiled as shared understanding. This often stems from social comparison theory, outlined by Leon Festinger in the 1950 Seconds, where we gauge ourselves against others for self-assessment. In strained dynamics, it warps from motivation to rivalry, viewing your wins as threats to their equilibrium, rather than collective joys, rationing shared positivity. Track the balance. How many unadulterated "I'm proud of yous" versus qualifiers? Caveats signal caution. Brené Brown's vulnerability research underscores that authentic bonds flourish on wholehearted affirmation, free of scorekeeping. Share selectively with amplifiers, not dimmers. And ask yourself, do my responses to others' highs invite reciprocity or mirror this pattern unwittingly? Fourth, interactions that deplete your reserves quietly, like a slow leak, no raised voices, just lingering fatigue. The late-night quick vent, stretching into hours, or arrivals brimming with energy that dissolve into demands, leaving you marathon weary despite surface calm. This aligns with compassion fatigue, a well-documented state of emotional and physical exhaustion from sustained empathy without safeguards, especially when boundaries fade. American Psychological Association research notes that ongoing exposure to high stress or dramatic exchanges elevates cortisol, the body's stress hormone, mimicking chronic health strains over time. The toll isn't overt conflict but incremental vitality loss. Journal afterward. Solitude, craving, or energized. Consistent depletion flags imbalance. Positive psychology suggests testing limits gently. I can chat 15 minutes today to gauge respect. Vital connections refill, draining one's empty. Self-check. Are my empathy levels sustainable, or do I overextend, inviting overload? Fifth, boundaries treated as optional, not essential. I need space this weekend meets guilt. I thought we were closer. Fine, do you? Or unasked borrowing of time, items, or confidences, followed by defensiveness at pushback, a pattern of overreach where no bends but doesn't break. In relational psychology, this is boundary violation as Nedra Glover-Tawwab details. Absent clear limits, resentment builds, morphing care into control. Our always-on world, rife with FOMO, intensifies it. Yet, as Stoic Epictetus observed, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Reclaim agency by voicing no steadily. Test. Do they respect requests or erode them? Negotiation signals reevaluation. Boundaries aren't barriers. They're soil for mutual flourishing. Reflect. How firm are my own edges, and might reinforcing them shift the dance? A note on balance. While spotting these patterns empowers protection, remember human complexity. Behaviors like these might stem from the other person's unaddressed pain, stress, or conditions, not inherent toxicity. Blaming solely outward risks overlooking your contributions, perhaps mismatched expectations, unclear communication, or patterns you could tweak. Approach with curiosity. Therapy, open talks, or self-audit can reveal shared growth paths. True resolution honors both sides' humanity, turning friction into fortitude. We've dissected these signals: chaos redirection, veiled critique, shadowed cheers, quiet drains, and boundary tests. But discernment isn't evasion, it's invitation to depth. Redirect reclaimed energy toward paused dreams, nourishing ties, and resilient self-trust. Viktor Frankl, Holocaust survivor and meaning pioneer, captured it. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Choose wisely, not rash cuts, but intentional spaces for breath, evolution, and unfiltered you. Master this, and you don't just evade drains, you seed circles of genuine uplift, alchemizing strain into strength. Your vitality? Guard it fiercely, invest where it blooms. If this resonates, you're in good company. Share below. What's one pattern you've noticed, and how might self-reflection help? Like, if you're committing to balanced bonds, subscribe for nuanced psych insights on relational real talk, and notify for your next growth nudge. Your empowered circle awaits. Together, let's thrive. See you soon.